والنقما، وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة. اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك، فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي، وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي، وأقل يا غفور عثرتي. فكم يا إلهي من قربة قد فرجتها، وهموما قد كشفتها، وعثرة قد أقلتها، ورحمة قد نشرتها، وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، ولم يكن له شريك في الملك، ولم يكن له ولي من الظل، وكبره تكبيرا. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها، على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه، ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه، ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاش في الخلق أمره، وحمده الظاهر بالكرم مجده، الباسط بالجود يدا، الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما، إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير، مع حاجة بي إليه عظيمة، وغناك عنه قديم، وهو عندي كثير، وهو عليك سهل يصير. اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي، وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي، وصفحك عن ظلمي، وسترك على قبيح عملي، وحلمك عن كثير جرمي، عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي أطمعني في أن أسألك ما أستوجبه منك، الذي رزقتني من رحمتك، وأريتني من قدرتك، وعرفتني من إجابتك. فصرت أدعوك آمنا، وأسألك مستأنسا، لا خائفا ولا وجلا، مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك. فإن أبطأ عني عتبت بجهل عليك، ولعل الذي أبطأ عني هو خير لي، لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور. فلم أر مولى كريما أصبر على عبد لئيما منك علي. يا ربي إنك تدعوني فأولي عنك، وتتحبب إلي فأتبغض إليك، وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك. كأن لي التطول عليك، فلا يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة والإحسان إلي، والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك. فارحم عبدك الجاهل، وجد علي بفضل إحسانك، إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك، مجري الفلك، مسخر الرياح، فالق الإصباح، ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد حلمه، والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته، والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه، وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى، تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادل ولا شبيه يشاكل ولا ظهير يعاضد، قهر بعزته الأعزاء وتواضع لعظمته العظماء، فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا أعصي، ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي. فكم من موهبة هنيئة قد أعطاني، وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني، وبهجة مونقة قد أراني، فأثني علي حامدا واذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه ولا يغلق بابه ولا يرد سائل ولا يخيب آمل. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين ويضع المستكبرين ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين. والحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها وترجف الأرض وعمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك، أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى، وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفوتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم وصل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم. وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. وصل على سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي، حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم وصل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر وخفه بملائكتك المقربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعله والداعي إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك أستخلفه في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله. مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له، أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا، يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم أعزه وأعزز به، وانصره وانتصر به، وانصره نصرا عزيزا، وافتح له فتحا يصيرا، واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم أظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفيا بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله، وتذل بها النفاق وأهله، وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك، وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا، وما قصرنا عنه فبلغنا. اللهم ألمم به شعثنا، واشعب به صدعنا، وارتق به فتقنا، وكثر به قلتنا، وعزز به ذلتنا، واغني به عائلنا، واقضي به عن مغرمنا، واجبر به فقرنا، وسد به خلتنا، ويسر به عسرنا، وبيض به وجوهنا، وفك به أسرنا، وانجح به طلبتنا، وانجز به مواعيدنا، واستجب به دعوتنا، واعطنا به سؤلنا، وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا، واعطنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين. أشف به صدورنا، واذهب به غيظ قلوبنا، واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك، إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله، وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا، فصل على محمد وآله وأعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجله وبضر تكشف ونصر تعز وسلطان حق تظهر ورحمة منك تجللنها وعافية منك تلبسنها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على رسولنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
For the marhumin of all those who are present here today and all those who sponsored the majlis, please recite Surah Al-Fatiha, but before it, the loudest of your salawat.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. ما صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, Ramadan Mubarak to all the mu'mineen, mu'minat that have joined us here this evening. Thank you so much for attending the program this evening. I'm very happy to be here and see all of your beautiful faces, alhamdulillah, for this evening. A couple of quick housekeeping announcements. So as I mentioned earlier, starting right now, there's a children's program happening upstairs in the classroom for ages 4 to 8. It will be tonight and tomorrow night, and then next week it'll be Wednesday through Saturday. So on the larger nights, inshallah, please sign up and bring your children for that. A lot of time has been put into organizing that for the young people. So inshallah, they're learning and having a wonderful educational opportunity as we adults are also down here. Also, as I mentioned earlier, there's a TV in one of the classrooms upstairs that will also be live streaming the speech if you'd like to go upstairs and listen to it there. Our programs will, of course, continue this week through Sunday and then begin again next week, starting on Wednesday, the night of the 19th, inshallah. So please continue as you guys have to RSVP on the form that we've sent out in the email. Inshallah, it helps us estimate the number of people that are coming for food. Also, inshallah, many of the generous mu'mineen have sponsored most of the nights here during the programs. I think there are still 2 nights left. If you would like to sponsor one of the iftars this evening, please talk to one of the volunteers here. We can put you in touch with Brother Muhammad, who's coordinating that. And we're also, as you guys have seen in the email, We are, having a fundraising campaign, inshallah, this month for Yasin during the month of Ramadan. We've made quite a good amount of progress towards it, but please donate generously during this month. We're targeting to, inshallah, raise $40,000 during the month of Ramadan to continue to support our ongoing programs. Next week, we'll give an update and a year in review financial presentation for everyone here. And last but not least, I just want to put one quick plug out to the community. I think it went out in the email this week, but we're organizing our community camp again, happening in June. We last did this in fall, or maybe it was August 2019, so pre-COVID. It hasn't happened, of course, in the last 2 years, and we're really excited to have another community camp. Please spread the word. Let people know registration is open now. Early bird pricing is going to end sometime, I think, in May. So, the email went out. Definitely spread the word. We had a great time last time, and we hope to get many more people to attend this time. It's also, the event is being co-sponsored, with Masjid al-Nabi, City of Knowledge, Masjid al-Rasul, from up in Simi Valley with Sheikh Madaris. So it should be a great time. I'll bring a lot of the communities together for a great weekend outdoors, inshallah. So I'm sure you guys are done listening to me. I will. So if you guys, mashallah, so as we open back up the masjid, everyone is going to get to know my son, Ilyas, whose voice somehow seems to project over everyone else's during the program. So inshallah, without further ado, let us please welcome our dear beloved Sayyid Abbas Razavian to the front with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
He wants to go to heaven. He wants to go to heaven. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم الدين. Let's recite a Fatiha for the sponsors of tonight, the Mahmoud family, after a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala wa ali Muhammad wa ajma'in. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. As-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. May your fast be accepted, your acts of worship be accepted. It is an honor being here and seeing you and being able to worship together, being able to discuss things that will enhance our lives together. We're talking about life skills. There are skills that we need in order for us to be successful. And the reason why many people, they're not successful in their lives, even though they have good intentions sometimes, they want to be successful, but they don't know how. They don't have the appropriate skills when it comes to, for example, we talked yesterday, social skills. There are certain skills we have when a believer needs to have in order to approach others. Yesterday we talked about respect. For example, when you show respect to others, it causes other people to help you out. When you are disrespectful to them, obviously they're not going to help you out as much. So one of those we talked about respect, for example. Tonight we're going to be talking about another factor in life skills that we should have and we should teach our children to have. And that is decision-making skills. We have about 35,000, you could say, estimated decisions we make a day. 35,000. Some of those are very simple, like should I have a frappuccino or a cappuccino, or those are not that important, right? Those, unless you have it all the time, it's not going to change anything in your life. Or what, should I wear a blue shirt or should I wear a green shirt? We're making decisions every day, right? But what we're trying to learn is how to learn the appropriate decision-making skills, because decisions are what changes us. I have family members, I know people, that it was one decision in their young life, for example, to go and leave public school and go to an Islamic school. That changed the course of their entire life, even though they're young. Now, is decision-making something only for adults? Or do children also have to make decisions that will change their future? Elderly people as well, they need to make decisions that will change their entire life. So all of us need to have this skill. And we said a life skill is something that gives us the ability to have success. Now these life skills, they're for the dunya, they're for the akhirat. All of us are in need of them in order to be successful. Some of the most important decision-making skills that we need, one is, for example, when I'm at the age of marriage. Should I get married now or should I not get married? You see how critical it is if somebody delays it, or somebody maybe for themselves, they're not ready for it. Or should I marry this person or should I not marry this person? Another very important, their entire course of their life changes. Yes, I understand that some of that, a lot of it is up to us. God has given us free will to choose. But I also believe in the fact that God helps us with that decision, especially the critical decisions. And He allows us, He puts that decision in our mouths at the same time. And we'll talk about that. We can talk about maybe that tawakkul part. So it is mysterious as well, decision making, especially about very important things. The fact that you came here tonight, for example, it was a decision. You know, you did RSVP, inshallah, 2 nights ago, and you came here, and if you didn't, it's okay too, alhamdulillah, but you made that decision. But some important decisions, you'll notice, as if somehow I changed, or you were talking to someone, say about Hajj, for example, and you didn't even think that they would accept, but Allah puts it in their minds, Allah puts it, and they make that decision to go to Hajj. They go to Hajj and their life changes. Or they go to ziyarat and their life changes. So this, would you agree with me, my brothers and sisters, that this is one of the skills that is very important for us, for our deen, for our dunya, for our akhirah, to learn how to make the appropriate decisions. And if we fail, God forbid, even when you're fasting, you're making a decision. God forbid, shaitan comes to you, even though he's locked up, and shaitan comes to you, or you could say our own nafs and desires comes to you and tells us this, says, break your fast. It's okay, have some water. It's okay. That fasting, they're saying, is not water, it's just food, for example. It's a decision you're making. And you decide, no, you fight that off, right? So all the time, in order to have taqwa, in order to maintain our spirituality, in order to have and be successful in this world, we're making decisions all the time. But let's analyze this a little bit tonight, and we'll talk about this topic, and hopefully you'll benefit from it, and you'll be able to make decisions better, inshallah, for yourself. First of all, Imam Ali alayhi salam gives us the guidance when it comes to tough decisions, when it comes to tough things. إذا نزل بك مكروه فانظر فإن كان لك حيلة فلا تعجز. If makruh comes to you, if something that you do not like approaches you, comes to you, you should not فلا تعجز. You should not become weak if there's a hila. Look at things in your life, Imam Ali alayhi salam in tradition says, if there's a solution, فَلَا تَعْجَزْ. Don't be weak, find that solution. So this is part of the decision-making process. That there are things that when I want to decide, I have to find the solution. Some things, they have the solution. فَإِن لَمْ يَكُنْ فِيهِ حِيلًا. If there's no solution for it, فَلَا تَجْزَعْ. Those that here speak Arabic, ta'ajaz and tajza are words, the huruf asli are the same, they're in different order. So when there are things that approach us that you cannot change, فَلَا تَجْزَعْ. Don't be weak, don't lose it, be patient. So in the decision-making process, we come and see, do we have a solution first of all? If there's a solution, then what we do is, we try to figure it out and we find the solution. We're not weak. And that's part of the decision-making process. That itself is a decision. When you approach any problem and you're trying to solve a problem, does it have a solution with my hands or not? If it does, go ahead, do it. A lot of times, we're believers that have an over belief on external factors. We like to blame everything else, but we don't want to actually work hard for it. It's like kind of that we'll talk about the mentality of Bani Israel. When war came to them and Musa alayhi salam had to fight, they said, go ahead Musa. Musa and your God, go ahead and fight. We will sit down here. They want always others to move for them. They don't want to be responsible. They don't want to give effort. That is one mentality in the decision-making process that is wrong, is that you think that you don't have capability. But you see, the believer has the most capability. You see that Allah has given us free will. And this is one of the tests that God has given us, is that we are mutaharrik bi-irada. We move according to that free will and that decision making that we do. We move according to that. But there are those at the other end that, again, they blame on external factors, and for them, what they do is, it is not appropriate that they don't try to solve problems by themselves. Now, what happens in this hadith to situations where I don't know the answer? I do not know what to do. I'm not able to tolerate. There's no solution. The hadith tells us, la tajza. That's a decision as well. To have sabr, to have istiqama, to be able to have patience over things that are not in our hands is also a decision. So there are things that we a little bit are freer for, and there's things that we are a little bit less free for. So in decision making, we have to first of all look, when you make a decision, where does that stem from? What part of your existence does that decision come from? Sometimes it's emotional. You make a decision based on emotions. You make a decision based on nafs. You want to choose something for yourself, and instead of choosing it based on the logical answer, you choose it because you like it. You choose it because of hawa nafs. You choose it because, for example, you're angry. You choose a person, for example, because of a different emotional attachment to that. So is it right to make decisions based on emotion? Right? Well, we have to again look, if those emotions are in line with the aql, then yes, it's okay. But if it is not in line with the aql and intellect, then no. Many times people make big decisions based on off their emotions, either from being angry, or they have an emotional attachment to somebody and they'll make the wrong decision. Or they like something, it's a car. They know, for example, they can't afford it, for example. But they like it, their nafs. They say, I have to have this, I have to have it. Then later on, they say, oh, I can't afford the payments. So the first thing is, when you want to make decisions, and we said we're making decisions through our entire lives, see where it stems from, the answer. Is it emotion? Is it reactionary because someone treated you this way? You want to treat them the same way? How many people do we know, they treat us, they don't maybe say salam to us very nicely, so we don't say salam to them nicely. They don't say salam to us, we don't say salam to them. They treat us with a little bit of respect, we treat them with a little bit of respect. But again, in the decision-making process, is this correct or not? To be reactionary. You see, the most wisest of people, the most wisest of rulers, they are our rulers and leaders because they make the best decisions. Some in the business world, some CEOs, they only go to work to make 2 or 3 decisions a day. That's it. That's their entire day. Some even 2 or 3 decisions a year. So therefore, the wisest of people are those that are able to make the best decisions for themselves, the community, and that stems from hikmah and wisdom. So the best type that we're looking at, also there's a type of another group of people that their decision making, they avoid decisions. They can't make decisions. Even when it comes to food, you go to a supermarket, you go to, I don't know, a 7-Eleven, something, you say, brother, choose a drink. And they're just looking the entire time, 15 minutes, and they don't know which one to take. The blue Gatorade or the red Gatorade, they don't know which one. They just can't decide. And they're indecisive. So that is also wrong too. So from all these options that we're looking at, my advice to you and myself is for the decision-making process, we have to be analytical and we have to be intellectual when it comes to that. And we're going to talk about this, that we need to make decisions based on our aql, our intellect. And that is the core of Islam. When you look at verses of the Quran about ulil albab, or those that taqilun, those that think, those that do tafakkur, those that do, you can say later in hadith, tadabbur, for example. We'll talk about the difference between tadabbur and tafakkur. But these are the people that will be successful. And these are the ones that Allah questions us, why didn't you think? Why didn't you contemplate? And especially when it comes to our decisions. So conditions and logical decisions come from a few things. You can remember these points, it would be good. The first is niyat. In order for there to be a good decision, there needs to be a good intention. A good decision comes from a good intention, especially in the realm of Islam, Islamic ethics. Niyyah is one of those issues that it's not as if some of the Western philosophers, they say either you have a good intention or you have a bad intention. In Islam, intention or niyyah has a hierarchy. It can go from 0 to almost infinity, you can say, or infinity. Levels of intention that somebody has, a good intention, a very sincere intention, a very great intention. Some of these high levels of intention only come from the awliya, because they have worked at themselves so hard that only them can have that intention. So first of all, if you want to make the correct decision, look at your intentions. What is your intention? Is it for God or is it not? First, be honest with yourself. Remember when we first came to the Hawza, and there might be in the Hawza because there's so much potential. If somebody reaches the top in the Hawza, he has wilayat over the people, he has authority, he can rule over the people, he becomes a marja taqli. So is it appropriate for someone to come to the Hawza, the seminary, to be a marja taqli for that intention or not? So our teacher, Sheikh Ahmad al-Mushtahidi, would tell us this, that when you come to the Hawza, first of all, that's a big decision, first of all, isn't it? I'm going to abandon my life. And many students, you see, they were accepted to good universities, colleges. They had a very good future in a way to sustain themselves financially, but they gave it up to come to be a student. But now the intention is important. Why? What do you want? Why did you come to become a student of Imam Baqir, Imam Sadiq, alayhi salam? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajal faraj. So our teacher would say, when you become a student of theology, your intention is important. He says your intention should be this, and he would change our intention. Even though we'd already made the decision to come, but he would change it. He would say this. And he would say in Farsi, he'd say, Adam Bisham, like you'd whisper it, Adam Bisham. Come to become an Adam. come to be a human being. And it seems like something that is that really humble? No, it is not something humble. It's actually the truth. First, you have to become a good human being, a human being according to Quran and Hadith. A human being that will be able to conquer, fight against his desires. A human being that will be able to benefit people. A good human being that cares and has, is a well-wisher for people. A person that is an abd of God is a true human being. Someone that has left the realm of ubudiyyat is not a true human being. Someone that connects to God is a true human being. Someone that has ta'alluh or godliness in him is a true human being. To become what God has created you, become an Adam first. And then he says, if you become an Adam, if this happens, then you go and help others to become an Adam, to become a human being as well, a true human being. So you see how important it is, that intention that we have, is that it can change everything in your life. So a good decision comes from where? Good intentions. Good intentions. As we have in the hadith from Imam Ali, an-niyatu asasul amal, because decision is for an amal, for an action. The pillar of an action is its intention. And believe me, those intentions that are difficult, sometimes we may in our lives have a few decisions that are very hard. Those are the decisions that we really need to ask Allah for help, because sometimes there's no way turning back after a decision like that. There's critical times in each and every one of your life. There will be times, there had been times, there will be more times that you have to make critical decisions that will affect your akhirah. And we pray Allah, inshallah, at that time, those times of tests and tribulations, that we will have the correct, inshallah, intention. So the first thing is to make your intention for God, because if you are with God, God will help you in that decision-making process. God will help you in the rest of everything you do. Many people, they actually say this. They say that when they reached high level of spirituality, it was maybe only a few decisions they made that changed their entire life. And the rest, Allah took them. A few things they sacrificed. Their intention was for God. Their intention was pure. And the rest, Allah took them. Just grabbed them and took them. And that's it. So we have to always think that these spiritual, high positions, yes, they take a lot of work, but it stems from a good intention, stems from a good decision they made, and the rest continues. As I said, that family member that I had that chose to go to an Islamic school, and the rest of their life was guaranteed because of the training they received. Let's recite now salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. But is intention sufficient, or do we need other things for a good decision? We also need will, irada, a strong will. We have in the hadith, beautifully from Imam Ali, Nahjul Balagha, Hikmah 47, قَدْرُ الرَّجُلِ عَلَى قَدْرِ هِمَّتِهِ. The worth of a man is upon how ambitious he is, upon how much will he has, willpower he has. That determination that is needed, besides when you make that decision, then you're going to work for it. You're not going to quit. You're not going to be a quitter. Many people, they have a good intention, they make a good decision, but for example, in the married life, they don't realize that marriage, you also have to work for it. Or in the economic life, you have to struggle. Or in family life, to raise kids, you have to struggle. They don't want to put in that work. They don't want to have that himma. So the second thing is you make the right intention, you make the right decision, but you also have that strong will that you don't give up. You want things to work. The third, we see foresight. And here, when we talk about foresight, there's two things that I want to talk about. One is tafakkur, and the other is tadabbur. Tafakkur means to think. Tadabbur means to plan. Some of the mufassirin, like Ayatollah Makaram, he says that the difference between these two, tafakkur, is when you are reflecting, you are looking at the ilal and the causes of things. When you do tafakkur, of the samawati wal ard, and you look at and you say, ma khalaqta hadha batila, you did not create this in vain. You're looking at the illah of this ma'lul. You're looking at the cause of the creation, and you're reflecting and saying, this must have a designer, this must have an organizer, this must have a sustainer. That's called tafakkur. That you're thinking and contemplating about the causes of things. What causes what? Then you have tadabbur and you're thinking of the results. Oh, you have foresight. If I do this, this will happen. If I do this, in long term, this will happen. That's called tadabbur. So you need to have both. About tadabbur, we have hadith. التدبير قبل العمل يؤمنك من الندم. From Imam Ali alayhi salam again. Planning before action will preserve you from regret. Planning. So in the decision-making process, whatever it is, if it's financial, if it's with your school, where you want to go, where do you want to study, you do tadabbur. You think, if I choose this occupation, how will this affect my life? How will I stay away from haram? This is an occupation that I might be involved in haram in the future, and I can't resist. So therefore, I have tadabbur, I plan in the future, I have foresight, I see, that's not for me. That's not for me. I don't want to do that, for example. I want to invest, but I have to have tadabbur. I think that if I invest in these companies, I think of the future. Is this a halal investment or is it a haram investment? If it is a haram investment, what are the long-term effects of that investment for me? What is going to happen? Even something long-term is 401k. 401k, I invest. Now, would I even, you do tadabbur, when I invest, when will that khums be liable for me in 401k investments, for example? I think of everything, the results, and I plan my life around Islam. Once I had the honor of many times, we had the meetings with Ayatollah Shobairi Zanjani, great maraj al-taqleed. One of the number ones, if you want to divide maraj to levels, in the first tier of maraj al-taqleed. And he had daily gatherings. People would sit there, informal, and they would ask questions every day. And mashallah, he had very good memory. And that anything you would talk about fiqh, usul, history, and he would just, from his memory, he would answer. Once they asked him about, fasting and about occupation and about that there are some jobs that it's almost hard or impossible to fast. And he advised this, that remember, not that, there's always haraj, mashaqqa, you can use these tools that if it's too difficult, if it's totally unbearable, for that person, that they will not fast. But he said this, that, and this goes to tadabbur, that planning, that you should plan your lives so that your life revolves around Islam. Not that your life revolves around Islam, or Islam revolves around your life. That you change yourself in a way that it's suitable so that you become and you live a halal and Islamic life. Not that you try to change Islam for yourselves so that it can, facilitate your needs. So that's part of tadabbur. As a young student, I'm choosing an occupation. Let me think about the future of it, and let me think of the halal and the haram of that occupation, and see which one, is better for me. Tafakkur means this from Imam Ali alayhi salam. At-tafakkur yad'u ila al-birr wal-amal bih. A person that thinks, he will be called upon action when he thinks, because he realizes the reality of things. So far, what did we go over? We went over tadabbur, tafakkur. We went over thinking, contemplation, planning. And we also talked about being, firm and having resolve. Al-dhafar bil-hazm wal-jazm, Imam Ali says. Victory comes with firm resolution and determination. So when you make that decision, you have good intention. you have a good planning, you think well, and you have determination, and you have resolution, that will give you victory. So this is all part of the, you can say, decision-making process. Another verse in the Quran, a verse in the Quran that talks about another thing that the Prophet of Islam was instructed, and we talked about this before, is that the Prophet of Islam, we said, I don't know if when you heard last night, we were saying that one of the characteristics that he had, that he is so successful, and that his name from 1400 years ago, we're in America, a completely different continent, completely different time, and we are in debt to him. We say salam and our salat to him because we owe this salat, Islam, this fasting, everything we have is from Rasulullah. The region, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The factor that he was so successful was that he was kind to the people, his akhlaq. And we said this is exactly what the Quran says. The Quran says, so by the mercy of God, you were lenient with them. If you had been rude in speech and harsh in heart, they would have disbanded you. So we talked about yesterday about one of the social skills, when you're kind to people, when you're not harsh in heart, you will be successful. Rasulullah, with his akhlaq, with his ethics, he attracted people. And then the same verse, it continues, and it says, after this, وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ, and consult them in the matter. This is Rasulullah, he has now divine knowledge, but he's being instructed to consult the people for different reasons, reasons you could say. So the second to last is that you consult. You consult when you want to make a decision, you consult those that have expertise. You want to make sure that that decision you're making, everything you thought of, you do the due diligence. At the same time, you also consult with the legal rulings, with Islam, to make sure it's not going to be something that is going to be haram. As we said, for example, investing in stocks. For example, you know how to do it, you know which companies to invest. And there you have consultation with others, or when it comes to marriage, for example, you want to get married, or for children, you consult people, those that have the knowledge of the Quran and Hadith, those that have more knowledge, you consult them. Rasulullah, in some of the battles, you see how much he consulted the people. In the battle of Khandaq, he used the advice of Salman al-Farsi to make a deep trench, a deep and wide trench that saved the Muslims because they were completely outnumbered, and it protected the entire, I believe that time it was the, one side of the city of Medina completely from the mushrikeen by building this trench, so that he used from the expertise of Salman Farsi. Or you have in other examples that when it comes to other battles, for example, that Rasulullah would use the advice of some of his companions, inshallah. I mean, inshallah, we'll find this through Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad Rajam Farajam. In the Battle of Badr, before the battle begins, they're outnumbered, the Muslims are outnumbered tremendously. And Badr happened a little bit outside of Medina. The Prophet also does consultation. He asks some of his companions, what do you think? Should we go back to Medina or should we stay here? So there's hikmah in this, there's wisdom behind this. Miqdad mentions there, that we will not be like the Bani Israel that told Musa alayhi salam to go forth and fight with his God, with his Lord, and we will sit here. We're not going to be like Bani Israel. We will be with you. Other companions said, if you tell us and order us to go in the Red Sea, we will jump in the Red Sea. After hearing this from the people, everyone got encouraged. The entire purpose of that consultation was realized, and with full energy and confidence, the Muslimin went to the Battle of Badr and had a great victory. So you see that Rasulullah would use this consultation. How come we don't use it for our decision making? Sometimes, again, we make abrupt decisions, we make emotional decisions. Let's take things very slowly, especially those important situations. And some of the hadith says if it's clear, if it's rushed, if it's clear for us, decide. If it's ghaib for you, if it's not very clear, then don't decide. Maybe consult more, think about it. And before the last thing, this brings us to this important talk about istakhara. Many people, for the decision-making process, they rely on istakhara. Istakhara means to trust Allah, and you can do it in different ways. You open the Quran, or you do tasbih with the tasbih, and you're trying to get khair and what is good for you out of either the verse of Quran or out of tasbih. Now there are people that are addicted to istakhara. I know a person I met, I went traveling with him, he said that, do istakhara for me. And I said, look, usually when I do istakhara, it comes out backwards. It doesn't come out the right way. He said, no, you do it. I was a roommate with him. So he said, okay, istakhara. Then he slowly gave me more istakharas, more. And not one, he would give me 20 at a time. He'd give me 20, I'll say, yes, no, yes, this, and I'd write it down on a thing. Yeah, this one's yes, this, no, yes, this. And then a few days later, 20 more. Then he said, actually, I don't want to bother you too much. I'll give you some of my istakharas. I'll give the other ones to somebody else. So yes, you can get addicted to istakhara. And why? Because we don't learn how to plan. We don't know how to consult. We don't know, again, I said that you have tafakkur, you have tadabbur, you think of the long-term consequences of things. Yes, at the very end, last resort, if you cannot solve it, after you exhaust all, again I said, after you exhaust all possibilities and you still want to do, you just don't have to. And then please go find someone that they know they do it correctly, inshallah. It's not somebody like me. There are masters of istakhara that I visited in the Holy See of Qom, they would do like hundreds, 300 a day. And they would tell things from the istakhara just that nobody knew that this would work out from the verse of Quran about the future of things. But yes, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't think anymore. So there is an over-reliance on istakhara. Should I go here today? Should I not go today? Some people even say, should I leave this room now or should I not leave this room now? It becomes an addiction. It's good if you use it appropriately. If you want to, you don't have to. Everything's khair, you can trust Allah. But if you decide to use it again after planning, after thinking, and you exhaust everything, because Allah wants us to use the intellect. Use the intellect, inshallah. Then at the end, the last thing, and this is the most important, is that after all of this is done, after you have planned, after you have a good intention, after you have determination, after you have tadabbur, you think of the long-term consequence, you have tafakkur, you think of the ilal. After you consult others, then the Quran, and it's that same verse actually, after it says, شَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. And then when you have decided, then rely on God. Now that you have decided, it's done. You can't change your mind again. It's done, you have to stick with it, you have to have azm. But most importantly, because you have that good intention, you say, I want to have tawakkul. God, I trust this affair to you. I grant this affair to you. And you're steadfast. One of the reasons, brothers and sisters, our tawakkul is weak, or my tawakkul is weak, is because we haven't understood who God is. If you understand that He is sufficient for you, you understand that everything you need God has, then who better than to trust your affairs with? Sometimes the amount of tawakkul we have on God is less than some of our friends. If I gave this affair to my friend and said, take care of it for me, I'd be rest assured because he's a good friend. I know he'll take care of it. Sometimes it's less than our own friends. Tawakkul comes from wikala. It means you're giving God that affair that you have, that issues that you have, what needs to be resolved, you're giving it to Him. So why would you then be impatient, or why would you be nervous? I'm talking to myself. Or why would you be, have anxiety after you trust something to God? When you trust something to God completely, and you did you had the right methodology, you had the intention, you had the right planning, then why wouldn't God help you? Why wouldn't He? Is He a bad God, na'udhu billah? Or is He a good God? We didn't understand the rahmat of God. We learned in Dua Iftitah that He is seeking us, He is turning to us, and we are turning away from Him. Why are we running away from God? Why are we not trusting in Him? In hadith, so beautifully it's mentioned to Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, I believe, that if creation were to know God's intidar lahum, how much God is waiting for each and every one of you. Right now, we are sitting here, God is waiting for you to approach Him. If you know how much He is waiting for you, and that how much shawq He has for you, and how much love He has for you, you would die out of that love. You would melt out of that love if you really understood how much He's waiting for you. We worship God as if there's multiple gods. We worship God as if this doesn't happen, there's another God. Na'udhu billah. But the way he sees us, as if He only has you, you're His only creation. That's how He sees you. It's only you and Him. So why is not God sufficient? Does there need to be another God? Is He not wise? It doesn't have to immediately your prayers be answered, or that thing that you're planning immediately be answered. Be a little patient. And inshallah, you will see the khair in it. You'll see the good. Have tawakkul ala Allah. And you'll get the best results, inshallah. And you'll be the strongest of people. Inshallah, we'll be able to have reliance on Allah. We're able to make correct decisions ourselves, our family members, especially those that are young, because their decisions are very critical. Let's recite salawat for that, inshallah. Allah. If we can dim the lights, and we said that each night of Ramadan is like a night of Qadr, it's like a night of destiny. We look at the lives of Ahlul Bayt and the decisions they made, and they made the best decisions, the most sincere decisions. They sacrificed the most. That was a decision they made. Lady Fatima al-Zahra salawatullah alayha made decisions in her lifetime. One was that she chose God over choosing the people, because people came to her house. They came and asked for Imam Ali alayhi salam, and she decided to defend Imam Ali alayhi salam and to choose God and what God wants over what people want. She chose the oppressed, the madloom. It's a difficult decision, because this decision meant that she would be attacked, that she would be martyred. She chose the oppressed over the oppressor. These are ways that Lady Fatima alayhi salam, Ahlul Bayt, decisions that they made. And the way you make good decisions is, you always make good decisions. Then when Allah tests you with a big decision, inshallah, then you make the right decision. But this decision to stay with imamat and walayat, this decision to answer the door, to come to the door, to defend her imam, this decision caused them to attack her, to disrespect her. One of the ulama said this about Lady Fatima Zahra. He said, maybe you might make fun of me, but I tell you this, that the chador, the abaya, the cloak of Lady Fatima, he says, is worth more than the entire galaxies. He says, you might make fun of me for this. That the abaya of Lady Fatima alayhi salam is worth more than the entire galaxies of all creation. And I was thinking about this, and I said, you know why it is worth more than all of creation? Because if you cling on to this abaya, you'll never be misguided. You'll never be left alone if you cling on to the cloak of Lady Fatima Zahra. It means that you'll always be with Ali alayhi salam if you cling on to this abaya. It means that you'll always be with Rasulullah, her father. Because her father loved Lady Fatima alayhi salam. As Shia and Sunni hadith we have, he would stand up for her when she entered. He would kiss her when she entered. He would kiss her. And then what happened after Rasulullah passed away? Again, we're preparing for the nights of Qadr, because there's a connection with the nights of Qadr and Lady Fatima Zahra. Rasulullah would look at her sometimes and begin to cry. She's healthy, she's normal, but began to cry seeing Lady Fatima Zahra. He would ask, why? Why are you crying when you'd see her? And he mentions, وَإِنِّي لَمَّا رَأَيْتُهَا ذَكَرْتُ مَا يُصْنَعُ بِهَا بَعْدِ. Because I see what happens to her after me. I see a life full of respect and honor, then after that, dhillah and disgrace enters her house. كَأَنِّي بِهَا, he says, as if I am with her. I am with my daughter, Fatima Zahra. وَقَدْ دَخَلَ الذُّلْ فِي بَيْتَهَا. As when dhul and humility, lowliness and disgrace enters her house, the house, that verse of Tathir was mentioned over and over upon this house. This house that Allah gave permission for Allah's name to be exalted in this house. وَانْكُحِتَتْ حُرْمَتُهَا, and her sanctity degraded. وَغُصِبَتْ حَقُّهَا, and her rights usurped. وَمُنِعَتْ إِرْثُهَا, they took away her inheritance. وَكُسِرَ جَنْبُهَا, and her side has been broken. وَأُسْقِطَتْ جَنِينُهَا, and her child has been aborted. Ya Allah, we ask you by the name of Az-Zahra, this chador, this abaya, we cling on to the abaya of Fatima Zahra. Allow us to make good decisions in our life, like the way you made decisions to save Imam Ali's wilayah. وَهِيَ تُنَادِي يَا مُحَمَّدًا, and she cries, says, Ya Muhammadan, my father. These are Muslims, it's only been a few days, weeks that Rasulullah has passed away. She says, Ya Muhammadan, fala tujab. Nobody answers. How madlum must you be that you're the daughter of Rasulullah, you mention his name and nobody comes to assist you. وَتَسْتَغِيثُ فَلَا تُغَاث. She asks for assistance, but nobody comes to her aid. Ya Allah, because of the nur of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, the nur of Rasulullah, Ali, Fatima, Hassan and Hussein, allow us to cling on to the rope of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Allow us to have tamassuk and attachment to the love and the walayat of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Make our children, make our progeny, inshallah, lovers and followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Make us, inshallah, friends and companions of Imam Zaman, inshallah. Expedite the return of our holy Imam with his salawat. Allahumma salli.
Brothers and sisters, let's end with dua al-hujjah. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين.